Well, hello there. Welcome to Chapter 28 of the American Pageant, our U.S. history book. It can be used for AP U.S. history, college history, regular U.S. history, awesome U.S. history because it is awesome. This is Chapter 28, the Progressivism, the Republican Roosevelt, or as fancy hoity-toity like to call him, Roosevelt. We're covering 1901 to 1912. And we have a picture of Theodore Roosevelt here, who took over as president in 1901. Because of the assassination of William McKinley. He's the youngest president ever in history. He was 42 years old when he was appointed. He's not the youngest president ever elected. That was John F. Kennedy in 1960, or he took over in 1961. He was 43. I know some of you youngsters and out there, you whippersnappers are going 42, dude, that's so old. But for presidents, that's pretty young. So we have a picture here of President Roosevelt pointing at you to study more history. You, right there, watching this video, study more history. Read history books. They are the perfect cure for insomnia. You just open them up and you fall right asleep. I have the book for you. If you can't sleep, just buy the book on the history of Silt. Silt by Paul Harvey, available on Amazon. Buy it. Let's get into this here. We're covering today the progressive roots all the way through political progressivism. Progressivism, we talked a lot about kind of the seedlings, the little offshoots or things that were coming up out of the ground or out of society during the Gilded Age. During the Gilded Age, people felt that business and government and everyone was against them. Everyone was out to make money off the blood, sweat, and tears of the working man or the farmer, the rancher, you name it. And so the people felt like they were being taken advantage of them. The big businesses were charging them too much. They were gouging them. Their wages were too low. And the government that was supposed to stand up for them and protect them was not doing that. And so it really grows out of populism. You have the Populist Party or the People's Party of the United States, which grew in the 1890s, really largely out of reaction to a lot of the industrial and farming problems and also the Panic of 1893. And they did okay. They had candidates, they ran for office, they had lots and lots of members, millions of members. However, they didn't elect enough people to really have staying power. But the ideas, they took hold of the people, and it just took, maybe the flipping of the calendar to get to the 20th century and the appointment of Theodore Roosevelt to kind of get things progressing and pushing reform through. The thing about the progressive movement, it wasn't a political party like the People's Party or the Populist Party. It crossed party lines. A progressive was somebody who could be a Democrat, it could be a Republican, it could be the Constitutional Unionist Party. That's just a joke. They're from the Civil War, socialist, you name it. But the common theme they had is they stood up for the common man. They fought for the average Joe, boy or girl version of Joe. And so they talked about the public interest. President Roosevelt was really the first president to use that term quite a bit, the public interest. What's best for the people. And if we were going to quote John Lennon's song from the 1970s, we would quote "Power to the People." That's kind of the central theme of the progressive movement. Some early seedlings or early kind of examples before the progressive movement really got going after Roosevelt. Henry Demers Lloyd was was critical of the Standard Oil Company in 1894. He wrote his book, The Wealth Against Commonwealth. Jacob Riis, which we learned in the previous chapters in the Gilded Age in that previous unit, shocked the middle-class Americans about how the other half lived with his portrait of inner-city poor in, the south side of Manhattan, the Lower East Side, excuse me. Socialists and feminists were also in the forefront of social justice. So these people, all these ideas kind of coalesce into this movement. Like I said, after the appointment of President Roosevelt, people here are making some fun on the internet. Progressive Flo, apparently she's a communist. We have progressivism here, and we have purple and yellow for their colors instead of red. I'm not sure. I guess the Lakers maybe are progressives. Go Nuggets. This is a picture here of melting pot in public schools in 1910. Many schools with the flood of immigrants had to deal with all these different cultures, different languages. And some teachers, instead of trying to assimilate all of them, tried to celebrate the differences and showed the melting pot of the various cultures that came here to America. And that's a basketball hoop in the background. If you look very carefully, right there's a basketball hoop. Basketball's the best. So, muckrakers. Oh, that's not a very enduring term. President Roosevelt came up with that term. Muckrakers are really people that they dig up dirt on people. Muckraking literally meant shoveling poo. Ew, that's nasty. Muckrakers were reform-minded journalists and wrote articles in magazines and exposed corruption and scandal. We would call them investigative reporters today. And, in Denver, Colorado, we have 9 Wants to Know. They're investigative reporters, and they expose these scandals. These people did this through books, through pamphlets, through magazines, newspaper articles, you name it. President Roosevelt coined the term, but it was, like I said, it wasn't a term of endearment. It wasn't like a little cute pet name that he loved them. He just was a little annoyed with them, but they served their purpose. They raised public awareness to a lot of problems that were going on in the country. They went after trust. They went after politicians, especially those that were corrupt, those that were really hurting the people, hurting the common man, the public interest. You're going to hear those phrases quite a bit in these chapters. Some examples: Lincoln Stephan published The Shame of Our Cities, Shame of the Cities, to expose political machines in 1902. This corrupt machine of giving out votes in return for, or giving out favors in return for votes, and charging people extra and kickbacks and rebates and all that stuff. Ida Tarbell wrote a scathing history of Standard Oil Company. Her father was fired at one point by Rockefeller, and so maybe there's a little bit of revenge that she tried to give, but it helped expose the really unethical and illegal business practices of Standard Oil, and it was used largely to help tear down Standard Oil, break up that trust. David G. Phillips published a series of called "This Treason of the Senate" in Cosmopolitan. Cosmo, way before they were doing like how to do your eyelashes and your makeup on the fleek or whatever that is. I sounded really old just now. Charged that 75 of the 90 senators at the time did not represent the people. They actually represented railroads and trusts. They didn't serve the people like they should have. Some of the most effective attacks from the muckrakers were directed at social evils. You have the suppression of African Americans, American blacks, shown by Ray Sanders following the color line in 1908. You have John Spargo writing about child abuses of child labor and the bitter cry of children. They're all emotional, very sad, and they raise awareness. Much like in the 19th century, what Uncle Tom's Cabin did to raise awareness about the horrors of slavery and the evils that were going on. These books highlighted problems in the early 20th century. This is a picture of Ida Tarbell. Her and a couple other of the muckrakers. I know that, let me see, Ray Sanders and a couple others, they actually purchased American Magazine at one point and published articles to try to support the public. We'll come back to the most famous one, Upton Sinclair and his thing about meat and meat packing and all that. So progressive reformers were mainly middle-class men and women that were well-to-do citizens who tried to help commoners, who tried to help their fellow man. Their goals ultimately were to use state power to control trust. If the federal government wasn't going to do anything, let's use the state power to control these monopolies, to improve the common person's position and conditions of life and labor, to basically that your basic standard of living would get better. Some of the people, the early examples: Robert La Follette, standing here in overalls in the back of a wagon, fighting Bob, as they called him, from Wisconsin, led the way. He supported farmers, he supported workers. Looks like he's going to maybe, jump onto a folding table. Wait, no, that's the Bills Mafia. They don't do that in Green Bay, do they? He advocated for direct primary elections, and so the people would vote for the candidates they wanted to run for office for their political party, instead of the party bosses getting around, smoking stogies and having brandy sniffers and going, who could we get elected? The people would get to have a say. The Oregon system, which was largely instituted, obviously, in Oregon, spread across the country, giving, once again, more power to the people. The people had more of a voice in government. And using the First Amendment right of petition and free speech, they expanded the voice that the common American had in government. They had initiative. Because you have the power to petition the government, you can initiate laws. You can write your own bills and submit those to be voted on by Congress, your state Congress, or even the people of your state. There's also referendums, certain bills that the state Congress can pass that the people maybe should decide instead of them. And so if it's kind of a controversial issue, they're unsure of it, they will put out a referendum. The state legislature will pass a bill, and then the people of the state will decide, do we want this law, yes or no? That's a referendum. It's kind of a cool thing. And then recall. If somebody's not doing their job, you can petition the government and have them voted out of office before their term. This is all state-level stuff, or local, county, city, but it's largely state-level. Most states have something similar to this. This is not a federal power because it would take a constitutional amendment, which is very difficult to do. Only 27 amendments have been successfully passed in American history out of 11,000 attempts. And so these are state powers is what we're talking about. The best example of recall that you may have heard of is Governor Gray Davis of California was recalled many years ago, a couple of decades ago. They replaced him with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor. Yeah, I'm going to help you. That was the worst Arnold impersonation ever. Sorry. Should have maybe practiced that one a little more. He was replaced, and so the election was a two-part election. You voted, should Gray Davis keep his job, yes or no? If you voted no, then you had to pick his replacement, which Arnold won over Gary Coleman from Different Strokes and a whole slew of really odd people. But Arnold, the governor, yeah, he can't even say California. You also had Australian ballots, which are secret ballots. And then ultimately you get the 17th Amendment. There are a bunch of amendments that are passed during the Progressive era. Actually, you have 4 of them. The 17th, we're going to go a little bit out of order, led to the direct election of senator, where you, the people, could vote for your senators instead of just being appointed by the state government. And so in your state, we have an election year coming up, or maybe it's an even number year. You might have a senator running for re-election or running for office. And if you're over the age of 18, you get to vote